Matty Heyman, what are the odds? You always get me at my worst. Anyway, Honda XL750 Transalp. We've been waiting a while for this one. A really well priced and pretty compelling new middleweight adventure bike. We're hitting the dirt. Does it stack up to expectations? This and more at MOTO.
Now, this guy right here uses the same new 755cc parallel twin as featured in the CB750 Hornet, which, if you saw our video on that bike, you'll know I really liked. It's a hoot of an engine. It's exactly the same in this application. Same 67.5 kilowatts, 75 newton meters. It's a really price-pointed motorcycle at $14,500 plus on-road costs. Call it $16,000 right away. And for that reason, the spec's not outrageous. We have preload adjustable Showa forks, Showa monoshock. I want to say 190 millimeters of travel. So, not crazy suspension. I think it's fair to say that this is a more road-focused middleweight adventure bike. It goes against things like the Suzuki V-Strom 800DE, which we also rode recently and enjoyed. It's probably more on the road-focused side than things like the Yamaha Tenere 700, Aprilia Touareg 660. Though I'm sure this does have some off-road chops. We've got 21-inch front wheel. They're the same wheels as off the Honda Africa Twin, this bike's big brother essentially. They are tubed tyres, not tubeless, so that's something to note. And if you want it looking like this, then you'll have to option for a few things. This one has up-down quick shifter fitted, which costs about $400. You can also get all kinds of things like big foot pegs, a larger windscreen. It's non-adjustable as standard, so what you see is what you get. You know I had to. No complaints on the quick shifter front. That thing does its job. Woo! More than happy to get on its side, this bike. It's really quite fun on a road like this. The dual sport tyres are an obvious compromise, but in the dry at least, plenty of grip. Oh, scraping the peg there. Touches down a bit earlier than I would have expected, so I'm glad to have noticed. Suspension setup is leaving me a little bit wanting. Front brakes feel alright, rear brake feels very weak, at least on this unit. Engine fantastic. I won't ever complain about this motor, I love it. But you know, they've spec'd this bike to be really accessible. This bike brings adventure touring to the masses in a way. 14.5 plus on-road cost isn't a lot of money. And so with those eyes, it's certainly a compelling compelling adventure bike, but you're not going to be beating KTM 890 adventures and the like, unless maybe you're that bloke, Daryl Beatty.
How's the bike so far, Spence?
It's funny you should ask that. How did you get so smart asking such good questions like that, Matty? Well, I got a bit to say. I've done a couple of hours on the Transalp so far, mostly on the road. Let's start with what I really like. This engine and transmission is fantastic. It was fantastic in the Hornet and it's fantastic in this application. Honda should just put it in everything. A lot of the stuff I'll give it a pass on because this bike's 14.5 plus on roads. Let's call it 16,000 right away. And that's important because it makes this segment, this really popular adventure touring segment, really as accessible as ever. But I do have a bit of a whinge. I would have loved to have seen at least an option for a higher spec of suspension. This Showa stuff does a pretty good job, but for those who are really serious about performance riding, both on and off-road, I think they're going to call for a little bit more travel, a little bit more adjustability. Look, I'm sort of nitpicking. If I own this bike, I'd think about it for 5 minutes, get used to how it is and never think about it again. But when I compare it in my mind to some of its rivals, I think that might be one of the weaker points of the Transalp, the suspension. A bit more travel would be nice. Ergos work really well for me. This one's got the optional bigger foot pegs. I would definitely opt for them. Some bar risers would be good, and some engine protection, definitely worth opting for if you're going to take it off-road, which we will be doing in just a minute. So early impressions are fairly good. It's not a perfect bike, but it is certainly a capable adventure tourer. It's good on the road, it's comfortable. The seat height's really low, so just about anyone's going to be able to get on and ride this thing. I'm keen to see how it goes on the dirt. We've got a 21-inch front wheel, we've got some dual sport tyres, so should be all right. Let's have a crack.
So at long last, a bit of light off-road. Nothing too gnarly, but gives me a chance to stand up and feel the ergos. I feel really nice and planted on these optional foot pegs. They're much larger than the standard ones. I think I'd definitely be grabbing them if I was buying this bike. And if I had my time again, I think I'd adjust these bars to be a little bit more upright because standing up, my arms are fully stretched out. But it's a fairly comfortable standing up position. They're not super extreme knobby tyres, they're very much a blend of road and light off-road. Look, you could ride this sort of road on anything. You could ride it on a sports bike, so it's not really a good indication of this thing's off-road prowess, but it certainly demonstrates that it's a comfortable bike to stand up on. This is great fun. Yeah, I gotta say it's handling this better than I expected. I wasn't sure sort of where this was pitched in the old, you know, the spectrum of an adventure bike. How much is it geared for the road? How much is it geared for off-road? It certainly doesn't have the suspension for extreme stuff, but I'm quite relaxed. I think this is the sort of stuff you'd be looking to do on this bike, you know. If this is the kind of off-road stuff you're looking to do, then go for your life, man. We'll do this stuff all day. Woo. Hell yeah.
Location, location, location. Man, this place never fails to stun me. It's just so beautiful. It's the country, you know, it's Australia. And what a place to try the new Transalp. I've had a pretty good taste of this bike today. It really sort of represents a new entry into serious middleweight adventure bike riding. There are a few things cheaper, but not many. This leaves a big question. The Honda Transalp or the Suzuki V-Strom 800DE. We got to get them side by side, I reckon. This is certainly the more road focused of the two, with the V-Strom being Suzuki's most off-road focused adventure bike yet. What's your flavour? Let me know in the comments section below. Make sure you subscribe to the MOTO YouTube channel. Rock and roll.
All right, first thoughts on the bike.